There's a famous debate between Bais and Bais Shamay about whether or not every day of Chanukkah we should should we start with 8 candles and then consecutively diminish the amount of candles every single night until we end up with 1 on the 8th night, or do we start with 7 candles or with 1 candle, and then progressively increase the amount of light? Increase the amount of candles until on the 8th night we end up with 8 candles. So we know the famous, this is Bais Shamay and Bais Hillel, and Bais Shamay says we should start with 8 and go down to 1. Why? Keneged Parei Chag. On Sukkos, we would bring 70. We'd start the Sukkos by bringing 13 cows, 13 bulls, on the first day of Sukkos. The next day 12, the next day 11, the next day 10. Till the last day of Sukkos, we only brought 7 cows, and the total would be 70. Bulls in total would be brought, and this was Keneged the 70 nations. And Bais Hillel says, no, we should start with 1 and go up to 8, because Lamayla Kodesh, we always raise up, we just go higher in Kodesh, which is why, this is an interesting point. So it brings down that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who was put in place of Rabbi Gamliel, he was impeached by the Chacham of the time. And so Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he was installed in the office of the Nasi of Yisrael. But after a few days or whatever it was, he was reinstated. However, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was never demoted, because you only go up in Kodesh. You only raise up in Kodesh. So because of that, they actually ended up sharing the Nasias, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabban Gamliel. Another example is brought down by a person by the name of Yosef ben Elam. Yosef ben Elam, he was a Kohen Gadol. He was basically, he inherited the office because whoever the Kohen Gadol at the time was had become a puzzle, had become invalid Kohen Gadol. And so he was then installed as a Kohen Gadol, and it said, if the original person would be reinstated as Kohen Gadol, Yosef would not be able to go down to be a regular Kohen again, because since he was promoted to the position of Kohen Gadol, he would not be allowed to go back up. He would not be allowed to go back down to just a regular Kohen. But anyway, so L'mayla Kodesh, we always raise up in Kodesh. So this is the Machlokes, and obviously we paskin like Bais Hillel. Good. Now, Bais Hillel does not argue with Bais Shamay, which means Bais Hillel agrees in core, they conceptually agrees with Bais Shamay. The only difference is Bais Hillel says that the fact that L'mayla Kodesh outweighs the similarities between this and Parei Chag. And there's a whole entire Maimer, Tana Rabbanim in Chanukkah, for Lubavitch Rebbe, on Tafshin Lamech, 7 Tafshin Lamech Ches. Beautiful Maimer. If you want, there's an English book. I'll flip it around. It's called The Victory of Light. And this is the way the book looks, in case anybody's interested in purchasing the English version. But I digress. Something struck me. We know that Chanukkah is never going to be mevatel. Why? Because we say Chanukkah touches the Yechida Shebenefesh. Chanukkah was pashut the most. Also, one last point. When Mashiach comes, we're actually going to follow the opinion of Bais Shamay, and we will start with 8 and go down to 1. So, important caveat there. Going to be very relevant to the conversation soon. But anyway, so the Chanukkah B'Noida actually talks to the Yechida Shebenefesh. Talks to our, we have 5 levels of the soul: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. I'm not going to, it's soul, and soul. Sorry. Spirit and soul, and you can find English counterparts, but different divine levels of the soul. Yechida is the highest level of the soul. It actually means the individual one, or the one alone, or the one by itself. And it's the highest level of our soul. Nothing touches the Yechida. Nothing's not able to be solid, it's not able to be dirty, it doesn't go anywhere. And Chanukkah is to reveal the Yechida, which is why even when Mashiach comes, which is the light complete with holiness, the Yechida Shebenefesh still exists, because Yechida Shebenefesh is aloof and beyond anything, which is why a Jew is never lost. So Chanukkah is revealing the light of the Yechida Shebenefesh, and the Chanukkah light is Keneged Parei Chag, which we bring for Goyim. It's a stira minei obey. Is it Yiddish? Is it Yidden? Is it Yechida Shebenefesh? Or is it Goyim? If it's Goyim, what does Goyim have to do with the Yechida Shebenefesh of a Yid? A Yid is given a neshama. A Goy has to earn his way to a neshama. He doesn't give it to willy-nilly. He has to fight and earn for it. It's Kol Yisrael, Yeshlam Chelik Elim Haba. Kol Goyim, you don't work for it, you don't get it. So, I don't know, why on earth are we making a comparison between the Yechida Shebenefesh of a Yid and Parei Chag for a Goy? So, I mean, a humble opinion, I think the connection boils down to, it says when Mashiach comes, we're going to light the candles like Bais Shamay. which to me means even the Yechida shebenefesh, we find not through ourselves, not within ourselves. We find in other places. The only reason Hashem put us down in this world, the only reason Hashem created a whole neshama and everything, Hashem created a neshama and Hashem, brought us here, was specifically and exclusively to shine the light onto the world. Which means that to our highest levels are found outside of us. Because that's what we're here for in the first place. Hishtashos exists for a world. There's the Gemara says a story. The Gemara gives an example of why do we eat food on Shabbos. It says Shabbos is a very spiritual time. It's Hashem's special gift to us. It's Hashem. Mit Amol, we're fressing as a pig in a sty. Like what's this? We eat and we sleep and we indulge the body. And especially if you read Torah says to be aloof and holy. What do we? So the Gemara brings a story as a parable. There's a king who has a son, and the son is a duke in a faraway land, taking care of the province there. And the king misses his son, so he writes his son a letter. Telling him how much he misses him, he loves him, and everything. Very nice. The son gets a letter, and he's in seventh heaven because of it. It's wonderful. He loves it. It's so nice. He gets a letter from his father. He feels, amazing. And especially, right now, Baruch Hashem, we get 10 million text messages a day. We beg people to stop. Back then, you got a letter. It meant it had to come from the other, the fastest internet was man on horseback. So, anyway, so the son is elated. Just over the moon. What's the problem? When you're happy, you want others to be happy along with you. Happiness is contagious. So, he wants to make, so he's sitting around with a bunch of farmers, a bunch of people from on the other side of the king's land, have no idea who the king is, and they're not happy. You got a letter, big deal. What does that have to do with us? So he can't explain to the farmers that, I have a king and he's my father and he loves me very much and he gave me a letter and it means so much to me. Garden at Gatenisht, that doesn't work. So instead, what does he do? He makes a big feast. He makes a big party, and he brings drink, and he brings food, and he brings music, and a big happy party, and everybody's enjoying and having. Now, the peasants are happy because there's a party. There's a party, there's food, there's drink. They're in the king's palace, amazing. The son is happy because he got a letter from his father. And he explains this is the neshama in the body. We eat food and drink good. We eat lavish foods and drink on Shabbos. Specifically so that the body should be able to appreciate the joy which the neshama is feeling. The neshama is the son. Hashem is the king in this parable. The neshama is the son of the king. Shabbos, the ruchniistic pleasure, the spiritual pleasure which the neshama feels is that letter from the king. And so, but we want the body to also be able to appreciate Shabbos. So we make a lavish meal, and that lavish meal makes the body happy. But we're missing a crucial element. Why did the king write the letter in the first place? We didn't stop to think about it. Why was a letter written in the first place? And if I may, whatever. Again, I can't give you any sources for this because I never, it's my own mishagas. The king wrote the letter so the farmers would be happy because it's all circular. Saif ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Hashem is happy. The son is happy because of the letter of the king. The people are happy because of the food and the drink, and the king is happy because the son and the people are happy. It's all circular. It all comes into one big circle. So the Yechida shebenefesh of ourselves, our Yechida is not found within us. Our Yechida is found out there in the goyim, in the nations. That's where we get to shine our Yechida shebenefesh. That's where, and it actually works out perfectly because if you think about it, we begin with 8 and we go down to 1. Yechida literally means yachid, individual, one. Oneness. Or aloneness, I guess. But so we're uniting all, we're taking the whole of creation, taking the whole entire world and everything in it, which is represented by all the 70 nations, and we're compressing it down to the one single point. So the answer is, here's the kicker, the upshot. If you want to reach your maximum potential, we have to go out there into the world. We have to go out there into the world and light up the world with godliness. We have to go out there into the world and bring Hashem to the entire earth. That terrifying word from the Rebbe, which I have another story as well. The Rebbe said if we had gone out and taught the world about Sheva Mitzvahs, the Holocaust would not have happened. The Holocaust would not have happened. Such a kick in the gut. Such a kick in the gut. I have another story. Happened specifically to me. I was in Eretz Yisrael, and there was a concert by a very, Erlich Yid making a concert, and we were talking before the singer was talking with me before the concert began, talking back and forth, Anyway, at one point he said, I have a story I want to tell you, but I have to go up now. I'm going to say this story on stage, and this is going to be specifically for you. What's the story? He was living out in California, and he had a Goyish neighbor, a real white Goyish neighbor. And his neighbor, was one of these, Baruch Hashem, good American guy, for lack of a better term. And one day his neighbor was acting very erratically, coming up to his door, walking past, looking in his windows, whatever. He's like afraid, is he trying to rob me? Is he trying to he doesn't know. And he finally knocks on the door and comes out, and he says, Rabbi, I want to talk to you outside for a minute. He's a little nervous. He wants me outside. Why can't he talk inside the house? Okay. He comes out to his front yard, and he tells him, my father was an SS officer. And right there, he just bursts out crying. Right there on his front lawn, this Goyish neighbor of his bursts out crying bitter tears. And he says, and I'm so sorry for what he did. Please, Rabbi, forgive me. Please, Rabbi, forgive me. And so, of course, he gave an embrace. He told him, don't worry about it. It wasn't your, nothing to be forgiven. It wasn't you. We're only held accountable in Torah. We're held accountable for what we do. Hashem punishes in more generations, but in terms of our Averis, or only our Averis, If you're the Arizal, it says about the Arizal, it says, the Shamay are a branch. And from the branch, just like one branch has many, there's a tree and then there's branches, and then one branch might have many other branches shooting off of it. So too, Tzaddik's neshama is like a branch of a tree with many other offshoots. So if you do an avera and you connect it to the tzaddik, so the tzaddik is, so the Arizal, he would do vidui with a very, he would do the confessional prayer with a very, very intense, rabbi, explains that, and it's all the people connected to me, But anyway, you're held responsible, you're held accountable for your own actions, not for sin, So, anyway, but what the man told him afterwards was, again, he said, why didn't you Jews teach us better? Why didn't you Jews teach the Torahs better? Even he knew. Even he appreciated and he understood and he knew. And it says, up until now there was resistance towards Torah and mitzvahs. There was much resistance. The Rebbe says nowadays there's no more resistance, and it's true. You could walk up to anybody in the street and talk whatever you like to them. Nobody's going to, even with after October 7th, and even with all the garbage that's going on college campuses. You can walk up and you can talk to people, and people are hungry to hear. So all that's left is for us to go out and to share the light. Mamish what we're waiting for everybody to understand and appreciate. There's an Eibishter, there's Mashiach's on his way. All we have to do is keep 7 little mitzvahs, 7 mitzvahs. It's not nish kein azoy, But I think also, the Rebbe also made a point, which sometimes I struggle with, walk up to a random person in the street, tell them, oh, you shouldn't be killing people. Shouldn't steal. So the Rebbe actually said that it's actually, we should teach them the concept of, and in this world there's an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and and it's very easy to understand right now, not to quote Oisa Ish B'Bnei but whatever, he said a line which just makes sense, but so you can take it just like anything else. But he said that he didn't understand this idea that there's an ear that hears until they recorded him, and they played him back his recording, and then he said, an ear that hears. So nowadays we can very much appreciate what does it mean that there's an eye that sees and an ear that hears. We have video recording, and deeper than that, there's a lot of, there's theories being thrown around that we're all in a simulation, I think Elon Musk famously ascribes to that. But if you simulate something, it's not even the pshat that it's something outside of you and you have to record it. If you have the core elements for the simulation, you know exactly what's going into there because you simulated it in the first place. What do we say? The world is created by God every single second, every single moment, just like your computer, it's simulating something, cut off the electricity, by simulation. So, it's actually a very apropos example for what we're going through. And as well, within the simulation, the reason why we like simulation so much and it's used in science so much is because you can boil things right down to the very, the most minute detail you want. That's why, in fact, in simulations, they actually generate literally trillions of bits of data, terabytes of data in a matter of 5 minutes. It's crazy, specifically because they're recording every single thing from every single angle. Anyway, I digress. Remember, we have to go out there and teach the world what we're here for, teach the world what we're doing. And it won't be, and it's hard to do, but if it wouldn't be hard to do, then we wouldn't be here in the first place. Anyway, this is Lag BaOmer. Should light up the world, make a bonfire to warm the whole entire world. And signing off.